I notice the moment I step through my parents' front door that something is off. The air feels heavy, charged, like the stillness before a thunderstorm. Mom's smile stretches a little too wide as she takes my coat, while Dad's handshake feels just a touch too firm. My sister Autumn practically vibrates with excitement, her eyes darting between our parents with that conspiratorial gleam I've known since childhood. "Sierra, honey, so glad you made it." Mom gently guides me toward the dining room where Sunday dinner is waiting, her hand pressing against my back with unusual insistence. The table is perfect, of course. Mom's best china, crystal glasses that only ever appear on special occasions, and a centerpiece of fresh flowers. Whatever this is, they've planned it carefully. I take my usual seat across from Autumn, whose smile reminds me of when she was 8 and knew I was about to sit on the whoopee cushion she'd hidden under my chair. Dad carves the roast beef with practiced precision, while Mom serves mashed potatoes, green beans, and those Parker House rolls I've loved since I was a kid. That's when I notice it. A manila folder sits tucked beside Dad's plate, its corner peeking out from under his napkin. My stomach knots. "How's the clinic?" Mom asks, her voice artificially bright. "Still working those crazy hours?" "Business is good." I keep my answer short, though I notice Dad's eyes flicker toward the folder. "We've increased our patient load by 20% this quarter." Autumn snorts softly. "All those patients, but still such a tiny waiting room. Someone should really upgrade your office management." The pieces click together in my mind, forming a puzzle I wish I couldn't solve. Dad clears his throat, setting his fork down with a deliberate clink against the fine china. "Sierra, we've been thinking about the future of your clinic." I freeze mid-bite, the food in my mouth turning to sawdust. Mom jumps in smoothly, like they rehearsed this. "Family businesses need family management, dear." "It's not a family business," I say carefully. "I built it myself." "With our support," Dad counters, reaching for the folder. "And now Autumn has an excellent proposal that will benefit everyone." Autumn straightens in her chair, practically preening. "I've worked up a business plan to become your practice manager. I'd handle all the boring paperwork while you focus on patients." She leans forward, eyes gleaming. "I'm only asking for a 25% profit share, which is more than reasonable considering all the growth I'll bring." My heartbeat pounds in my ears. This isn't Sunday dinner, it's an ambush. Memories flood back uninvited. Double shifts at the hospital cafeteria during physical therapy school, sending money home to help Autumn through her freshman year while I ate ramen in a one-room apartment furnished with things rescued from curbsides. Midnight study sessions after 14-hour clinical rotations. The $187,000 in student loans that still drain my checking account every month. "I already have a clinic manager," I say, surprised at how steady my voice sounds. Mom waves her hand dismissively. "But Autumn is the real people person. Remember how she charmed Dr. Wilson at your clinic opening? He barely noticed you were there, I remember. Just like I remember Dad dismissing my academic honors at graduation, saying book smarts don't build practices, while taking pictures of Autumn in my cap and gown. I remember her disastrous stint at the front desk last summer that resulted in unauthorized discounts to her sorority sisters, leaving me weeks of patient apologies after her scheduling mix-ups. "May I see what you've prepared?" I ask, nodding toward the folder. Dad slides it across the table with a satisfied smile. "It's already been drawn up by my attorney. Just needs your signature. I can start tomorrow." Autumn claps her hands together. "I already have ideas for redecorating your office." I take a deliberate sip of water, setting the glass precisely on its coaster. With slow, measured movements, I reach for my own briefcase resting beside my chair. "Before we discuss this further," I say, "there's something you should see." In the weighted silence that follows, I unlock my briefcase with a click that echoes like a gunshot. Dad's confident smile falters as I withdraw a leather portfolio, the expensive one I splurged on after landing the contract with Denver Sports Medicine. A silent reminder of successes I achieved without their help. "What's this?" Dad's voice carries the faint tremor of a man unaccustomed to surprises. Mom glances nervously between her husband and Autumn, fingers fidgeting with her napkin. Autumn's smile, triumphant just moments ago, begins to wilt as I carefully arrange my documents on the table, aligning them with the same precision I use for treatment plans. 3 weeks ago, I signed a management services agreement with Colorado Healthcare Partners. I tap the top page where their logo sprawls across the letterhead. They're managing all administrative aspects of Healing Hands going forward. Dad reaches for the papers, his brow furrowed. You can't make decisions like this without consulting family. Actually, I can. I slide another document toward him. I highlighted section 4.3 for your convenience. No family members may be employed in management without unanimous board approval. The board consists of myself and 2 CHP partners. Autumn's face flushes crimson. You did this on purpose. I made a business decision, I reply, locking eyes with her. One based on previous experience. From my portfolio, I pull a folder of patient complaints, meticulously organized by date. These are from last summer when you worked at the clinic. I don't need to open it. The thickness speaks volumes. 15 scheduling errors resulting in double-booked rooms. 23 unauthorized discounts, 8 to your sorority sisters. 31 billing errors that nearly triggered an insurance audit. Mom reaches across the table, her fingers stopping just short of mine. Sierra, honey, everyone makes mistakes when they're learning. These weren't learning mistakes. I stand slowly, finding unexpected strength in towering over them. These were careless mistakes made by someone who thought rules didn't apply to her. I withdraw another document, this one prepared by my accountant. This itemizes the $42,000 in free treatments I've provided this family over the past 3 years. Dad's rotator cuff rehab. Mom's plantar fasciitis. Autumn's massages before her beach vacations. The stunned silence feels like vindication. Their faces shift from entitled certainty to uneasy shock. While I covered your healthcare needs, I was eating ramen to make loan payments. I worked double shifts at the cafeteria to help fund Autumn's freshman year because you said you couldn't afford both our education. I lock eyes with, Dad. I slept on treatment tables when I couldn't afford rent and malpractice insurance. My phone buzzes with a text. I glance down, it's my clinic manager. Did you tell them yet? The timing couldn't be better. My staff witnessed Autumn's chaos last summer. They stayed late to fix her mistakes while she posted rooftop happy hour photos. They know the truth. My mentor warned me years ago that family and business don't mix, I say, remembering Dr. Winters catching me crying in the supply closet after Dad skipped my clinic's opening. I should have listened sooner. I gather my documents with deliberate care, sliding them neatly back into my portfolio. The order matters. It keeps me calm, like prepping treatment supplies before a tough patient case. We can negotiate. Dad's voice has lost its authority, replaced with the tone he uses when a deal starts slipping. 20% instead of 25%. A trial period. I close my portfolio with a snap. My clinic isn't your piggy bank. It's my career. Mom's hand flies to her throat, a dramatic gesture perfected over years of family conflicts. I never thought you'd put business before family. The statement hangs in the air, revealing everything wrong with their perspective. To them, my success isn't mine. It's theirs to use. I'm not putting business before family, I reply, my voice steady. I'm putting boundaries before exploitation. Autumn shoves back from the table, her chair scraping the floor. You've always been so dramatic, Sierra, acting like you did everything yourself when we've always supported you. Supported me? I arch an eyebrow. When exactly? Was it during graduation, when Dad took photos of you in my cap and gown? Or when Mom told Dr. Wilson I was just the medical person at my own clinic opening? The memories bubble up. My 12th birthday when I got a card while Autumn got a new bike. My valedictorian ceremony where no one from my family showed because Autumn had a cold. I zip my briefcase closed. Your support has always been absent when it mattered. Dad stands too, but his height no longer intimidates me. You've changed, Sierra. Success has made you cold. No. I meet his gaze without flinching. Success has made me visible. And you don't know what to do with a daughter you can't ignore. I lift my briefcase. It feels lighter than the years of weight I've carried. For the first time since I arrived, I take a deep breath that doesn't ache in my chest. I'll see myself out. I turn to the door, pausing only once. Oh, and starting next month, family treatments will be billed at standard rates. Our charity program is reserved for patients who can't afford care, not those who choose not to pay. Behind me, I hear Mom's sharp gasp, Dad's muttered curse, Autumn's theatrical sob. But for once, none of it pulls me back. I step into the evening air, phone buzzing again. Another message from my manager. We're all here for you. And for the first time, I believe it. That night, back in my apartment, the memories won't stop flooding in. My 12th birthday fell on a Tuesday in April. Unremarkable except for the math test I aced and the single card propped against my cereal bowl. 2 weeks later, Autumn turned 10 and received a gleaming teal bicycle with streamers on the handlebars and a wicker basket for treasures. I stood on the porch as she circled the driveway, wobbling but proud, while our parents clapped for each lap. "Sierra, take a picture of your sister," Dad called, tossing me his camera. "This is a milestone." I angled the viewfinder to capture Autumn's beaming face, her hair catching sunlight as Dad steadied the bike. Mom waved a handkerchief like she was sending off royalty. Later, while I helped Mom with the dishes, I asked, "Remember when I got my first bike?" She paused, sponge suspended. "You were a practical child, Sierra. You always wanted books instead, but that wasn't true." I'd circled bikes in catalogs for 3 years straight. High school graduation brought academic honors, valedictorian, science medal, a full scholarship to Colorado State. The auditorium buzzed with proud parents holding bouquets. Mine arrived 7 minutes after my speech, slipping into the back row as I returned to my seat. "Traffic was terrible," Mom whispered afterward, "but we're here for Autumn's dance recital tonight." "You're coming, right?" The pattern never changed. My Dean's List certificates arrived home by mail while I worked double shifts at the cafeteria. The envelopes sat unopened on the counter for weeks. At my physical therapy school graduation, I stood alone after the ceremony until Autumn waved from across the quad. "There you are," she said, snatching my mortarboard. "Dad wants pictures of me in this. You don't mind, right?" For 20 minutes, I watched as my parents photographed her wearing my hard-earned cap. Their backs turned to me with my honors cords and diploma still clutched in my hands. "Book smarts don't build practices." "Sierra," Dad said later, returning the cap without meeting my eyes. 4 years later, I was hunched over my laptop at midnight, the clinic dark except for my office lamp. Loan statements glared from the screen, $187,000 still remaining. The monthly payments were larger than my rent. That same night, I transferred $200 to Autumn for her temporary housing crisis after her 4th job change in 2 years. My apartment was still furnished with roadside rescues, a coffee table with uneven legs, a couch that smelled faintly of its previous owners no matter how much I scrubbed. My stomach growled in the silence. The bank manager's voice echoed in my mind from that morning. "Without a cosigner or collateral, Miss Bennett, we simply can't approve this expansion loan." I'd nodded politely, tucking the rejection letter into my bag, not mentioning that my parents had refused to cosign, but had bought Autumn a new car the previous month because she needed reliable transportation for interviews. That night, the treatment table became my bed. I curled onto the paper-covered vinyl, wrapping myself in a patient blanket after 16 hours of back-to-back sessions followed by paperwork. The cleaning crew found me there at 5 a.m., still clutching spreadsheets. 6 months later, when Healing Hands Physical Therapy finally opened in its own space, not just a rented room, my parents stopped by for 15 minutes between Autumn's bridal shower and a dinner reservation. "It's nice," Mom said, glancing at her watch. "Like a real doctor's office." Dad peered at my framed credentials. "Just remember, it's always about the people, not the degrees." They left before the reception even started, missing the champagne toast from my 3-person staff and the ribbon-cutting photo for the local journal. The summer Autumn decided to help out at the front desk became a nightmare. Her sorority sisters got unauthorized discounts. Regular patients had appointments rescheduled or canceled entirely, and insurance forms piled up unprocessed in desk drawers. "They were boring," Autumn said when confronted. "Besides, they're just old people with Medicare. They don't have anywhere important to be." After she left, I spent weeks making personal calls to every patient, rebuilding trust one apology at a time. The turning point came during a meeting with Blue Shield's regional rep. She had already rejected 3 of our claims. "Ms. Bennett, your documentation simply doesn't meet our standards." I slid a folder across the desk, cutting her off. "These are revised protocols I developed, cross-referenced with your latest manual." Her eyebrows rose as she flipped through the annotated pages. "You did this yourself?" "Every night for 3 weeks." 3 days later, they approved our entire claims backlog. Within months, referrals increased as word spread about our documentation and outcomes. After 2 grueling years, we had our first profitable month. I stared at the accounting software late one night, verifying the numbers 3 times before allowing myself to believe them. No one was there to celebrate, but for once, the silence felt like power instead of abandonment. I realized something profound that night. My invisibility had become my superpower. While my family admired Autumn's charm, I had built something substantial in the shadows. The persistence, precision, and strategy I developed through self-reliance were now the foundation of a thriving business. Ellie Morgan, my clinic manager, proved me right when she turned down a higher-paying hospital job. "They don't value people like you do," she told me, tearing up the offer letter. "I've worked in healthcare for 30 years, Sierra. What you're building here is special." When Autumn's scheduling disasters created chaos, my staff stayed late without complaint. "We've got this," Carlos, my lead therapist, said as midnight approached. "Your sister's sure, but we're a team." Every Friday morning, our meetings began with challenges and victories from the week. Every voice mattered, even the cleaning staff's. A stark contrast to family dinners, where my input was always dismissed or interrupted. Then came the call from Denver Rehabilitation Center's medical director. "We've been watching your outcomes data. Our orthopedic department wants to discuss a specialized treatment partnership." That evening, we gathered in the clinic after hours, not to fix mistakes, but to celebrate. 9 staff now instead of 3, toasting with grocery store cake and plastic cups. "To Sierra," Ellie said, who saw possibilities when everyone else saw limitations. Later, in the quiet, I lifted my first business license from its frame, tracing the embossed seal. Tomorrow I'd rehang it in our expanded reception area. A reminder that being overlooked sometimes lets you build foundations no one expects to stand. 6 weeks after that confrontation at dinner, I found myself in my corner office at the clinic, the one with a panoramic view of Denver's skyline. But I'd positioned my desk to face the treatment floor instead. Through the glass wall, I watched Meredith gently guide Mrs. Hoffman through her post-stroke exercises. Meredith's patience mirrored what I strive for with every patient, something my family never understood about true healing. The contrast between my modest office and the state-of-the-art treatment areas was intentional. Patients deserve the best equipment, while I could function perfectly well with a second-hand desk and a plain chair. Every dollar saved went where it mattered most. On my wall hung the original Healing Hands Therapy sign, salvaged when we expanded from 3 treatment rooms to 15. From me working alone to a team of 15 therapists who shared my vision of patient-first care. My phone buzzed for the 3rd time that day. "Mom again?" I silenced it without looking at the message. It would be like the last 6 days, just checking in. "Honey," always with a thinly veiled question about the clinic or a subtle mention of Autumn's latest employment crisis. The calls had increased after I refused dinner invitations 6 weeks in a row. Mom cycled between guilt, "We never see you anymore," and fake business interest. "Have you considered discounts for senior communities?" Dad had even attempted to contact my accountant directly last week, though Denise had warned me in advance. Their most desperate move came yesterday. Autumn appeared unannounced during our busiest afternoon, waving a folder of incredible marketing ideas that, conveniently, required her full-time employment to implement. Mark, my front desk manager, followed protocol perfectly. He offered her a seat in the waiting room and called me immediately. I didn't interrupt my patient session. The afternoon sun warmed my face as I opened my laptop, rereading the email I had drafted, deleted, and rewritten 14 times. It was measured, precise, and absolutely necessary. To my family, as I've told you before, after careful consideration, I am establishing professional boundaries regarding Healing Hands therapy. The clinic remains closed to family employment or management input. All treatment services will be billed at standard rates. Business discussions are limited to my management team. I remain open to rebuilding our personal relationship, separate from my professional life. My finger hovered over send when my office door opened. Carol, my clinic manager, appeared holding 2 steaming mugs. "Thought you could use reinforcements," she said, setting a coffee beside my laptop. I raised an eyebrow. "Reinforcements?" She slid her phone across my desk. On the screen was my mother's Facebook profile, showing a photo from my clinic's opening day 3 years ago. Mom stood beside me, arm around my shoulders, a rare moment of support I now knew was performative. So proud of my daughter Sierra's vision with Healing Hands therapy. We've always believed in her healing touch. Proud mama, family business. The timestamp said it was posted 20 minutes ago. "The hashtag is interesting," Carol said carefully. "Family business." The words left a bitter taste. I clicked send on my email. They've never paid $1 toward this clinic, I said flatly. Never worked an hour here. Never believed in it until it succeeded. Community's noticing the disconnect, Carol replied. Dr. Reynolds mentioned it last week when he referred that complex shoulder case. I looked up, surprised. Said he always sends patients here because you built something genuine, not handed down or gifted. Said he appreciates how you acknowledge your team instead of bragging about your background. The staff meeting from last Friday came to mind, where I credited our growth to the team's dedication instead of my own vision. I remembered noticing Autumn's friend Kimberly in the waiting room, her phone suspiciously angled toward us. That reminds me, I said, pulling up another email. The scholarship fund is approved. Starting next semester, we'll sponsor 2 PT students with financial need. Carol smiled. Your mother called that wasteful charity when she overheard us. Exactly why it matters, I said. I stood, stretching my stiff muscles. Any update from the accountant about their latest inquiry? Carol's expression hardened. Your father tried charm, then intimidation. Eventually left when Denise mentioned harassment charges. Her tone softened as she pulled a folded note from her pocket. Your mother stopped by during lunch. When I told her you were at the Children's Hospital clinic, she left this. The envelope bore my name in Mom's perfect cursive. Inside was tear-stained paper filled with desperate pleas about family misunderstandings and missing my daughter. The final line requested a family meeting to heal old wounds. At their house. Of course, on their terms. My phone chimed again. This time it was Autumn. Miss you, big sis. Can we talk, just us? Carol studied my face. Your father's letter came in yesterday's mail, too. Very formal. Suggesting mediation, with his attorney present. I let out a humorless laugh. The tables have turned. Their friends are asking questions. People are noticing the cracks in their story. Through the window, I watched 2 therapists guiding patients with compassion, both of whom I had hired from disadvantaged backgrounds. The sunlight illuminated the expanded floor, built from my vision, my work, my persistence, despite years of my family dismissing me. What will you tell them? Carol asked. I slipped the note into my desk drawer, joining the other manipulative letters I'd carefully documented. When they're ready for a relationship that doesn't exploit my success, I said, I'll listen. Until then, my priority is protecting what I've built. In the waiting room beyond my office, I spotted a familiar face, one of Autumn's sorority sisters who had once received unauthorized discounts. Today, she waited patiently with her insurance card in hand. Respect in her expression where entitlement used to live, the facade was crumbling. 2 weeks later, the morning air smelled of fresh coffee and possibility as I arrived early at Cornerstone Cafe. I had chosen the meeting spot carefully, neutral territory, with just enough background noise for privacy but not isolation. I sat at a corner table with clear sight lines to both entrances, old habits from years of waiting for family approval. My leather portfolio rested in front of me, every document inside organized with the same care I brought to patient plans. Evidence collected not with malice, but with precision. Can I get you something while you wait? The barista asked, smiling warmly. Just black coffee? Thanks. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. Steam curled from the ceramic mug moments later as I spotted them through the window. Dad with squared shoulders beneath a golf polo, Mom fidgeting with her pearl necklace, Autumn striding confidently but casting nervous glances at them. Their cream and tan outfits looked coordinated, a united front. The bell above the door chimed as they entered. Dad's jaw tightened, Mom's smile froze. Autumn's eyes narrowed at the sight of my portfolio. Sierra. Honey. Mom leaned in to hug me, but I stayed seated, forcing her into an awkward shoulder pat instead. This is cozy. We'd have preferred dinner at home, Dad said, settling across from me. Family matters should be discussed privately. This isn't just a family matter. I tapped my portfolio. This concerns my business. Autumn slid into the chair beside him, her perfume overwhelming the coffee aroma. We brought muffins from that bakery you like. She pushed a paper bag toward me, which I ignored. After the waitress took their order and disappeared, Dad leaned forward, his voice dropping into the tone he used when I missed curfew at 17. Blood is thicker than water, Sierra. Family stands together, especially in business. Mom reached across the table, squeezing my wrist. We've always been proud of you, sweetie. We tell everyone about our brilliant daughter, the doctor. Physical therapist, I corrected automatically. Doctor of physical therapy, Autumn added smoothly, before launching into a rehearsed pitch. She pulled a sleek tablet from her purse. I've revised my proposal. Not management, consulting. 3 days a week. Better social media presence. Corporate outreach. I took a slow sip of coffee, letting the bitterness steal me. Before we talk about proposals, there's something you should know. The Hendersons asked me an interesting question at their anniversary party last weekend. They congratulated me on my family partnership and asked when you all joined my practice. I opened the portfolio, revealing printed screenshots and messages. They were surprised when I told them you weren't partners. Dad's face reddened. We never said, I have your Facebook posts. I slid the pages toward him. And texts from the Wilsons asking about the family business Mom mentioned at Bridge Club. Mom's face paled. Sierra, it's just pride. Just expressions of pride, is it? I pulled out another document. This is Dr. Reynolds' email asking why Dad contacted him about partnership opportunities in my clinic. Silence stretched, broken only by the hiss of the espresso machine. You've been watching us, Autumn said, her voice tinged with betrayal. I've been paying attention, I said evenly. The same attention I gave to building this practice while you told your sorority sisters they could get free treatments. Dad leaned forward, trying to seize control. We're getting sidetracked. We're here to discuss Autumn's role. Autumn will have no role in my clinic. My words came out calm, certain, even to me. Neither will you, or Mom. Sierra, Mom's hand flew to her throat. After everything we've done for you, everything you've done? I cut her off, sliding another spreadsheet across the table. Here's an itemized list of free treatments I've provided to this family. Market value, $42,735, and loans I gave Autumn when I could barely make rent. $1,650, still unpaid. Autumn's face twisted. You said those were gifts. I said we'd figure it out later. It's later. Dad's businessman mask slipped. You can't expect repayment after all you've what? My voice was steady but firm. After you missed my doctoral hooding for Autumn's sorority fundraiser? After you told Dr. Wilson I was just playing at business until I found a husband? After you dismissed my clinic opening as just another job? I flattened my palms on the table. These are my terms for any future relationship. My business decisions are mine alone. No input, no suggestions, no contacts with my colleagues. All treatments will be billed at standard rates. And you will stop describing yourselves as partners in my business. Mom's composure crumbled, tears welling, real this time, not the performative kind. You can't mean this. We're family. Family respects boundaries, I answered. Family celebrates achievements instead of trying to claim them. Dad's face darkened. This is absurd. We never thought you'd succeed on your own. We were trying to secure your future. The truth slipped out so easily he didn't seem to realize what he'd admitted. After all these years, they had never believed in me. Autumn's mask fell away too. It's not fair, she hissed. You get everything, the respect, the business. What about me? I'm stuck in a cubicle while you play hero at your precious clinic. There it was, the raw envy beneath all the manipulation. I closed my portfolio with a snap and stood. I built everything I have while supporting this family emotionally and financially. I'm not playing at anything. And I'm done being invisible. I left exact change for my coffee and walked out. Behind me, I heard Mom's sobs, Dad's harsh whisper to Autumn, the scrape of chairs. But I didn't look back. For the first time in my life, I walked forward without checking if they approved. Each step shed the weight of their expectations. I stepped into the sunlight, standing taller than when I arrived. I stood at the picture window of my expanded clinic, watching the afternoon sun paint golden highlights across the Denver skyline. 1 year had passed since that fateful Sunday dinner, and the view outside reflected the transformation within me. Dr. Bennett, your 3 o'clock is ready. Melissa, my lead therapist, appeared at my side with a clipboard in hand. It's Mrs. Abernathy's final session. Perfect timing. I smiled, warmth spreading through my chest. The waiting room bustled with activity, a far cry from the cramped space where healing hands began. Patients now sat comfortably beneath framed community service awards, hung beside my original business license. The waiting list for new patients stretched 2 months out, a testament to the reputation we had built together. Mrs. Abernathy, an elderly woman with bright eyes and a spine curved from decades of labor, beamed as I entered the treatment room. There she is, she announced to no one in particular, the miracle worker herself. I laughed, setting her chart aside. The miracle was your dedication to the home exercises. Nonsense. She waved a weathered hand. My grandson says you're the best in Denver, and that boy researches everything. As I guided her through her final stretches, I caught sight of my reflection in the treatment room mirror. The tight shoulders and defensive posture I once carried had softened. I stood taller now, grounded in my worth. Later, I welcomed 3 new graduates to my mentorship program. They gathered around the conference table, eyes bright with the same determination that once fueled my midnight study sessions. The most important thing I can teach you isn't a technique, I told them, perching on the edge of the table. It's knowing your value. In this profession, you'll give constantly. Make sure what you're giving is respected. After they left, I reviewed the latest figures for our pro bono program serving underserved patients. 15% of our practice was now dedicated to free care, a percentage that would have terrified me last year, but now filled me with purpose. My phone buzzed with a text from Leah, my closest friend and the leader of our professional women's support group. Ready for tonight? Your turn to share. A flutter of nerves stirred in my stomach. Tonight would be the first time I shared my full journey publicly, family struggles included. The thought terrified me, but it also felt liberating. Before leaving, I checked my personal email. Mom had sent photos of her volunteer work at the community garden, her 3rd message that week that didn't demand anything from me. Small steps, but genuine ones. Dad's name remained absent from my inbox. Some wounds I knew would take longer to heal. Another email came from Autumn. A job announcement for her first position at a corporate office, unrelated to my clinic. The message lacked her usual exclamation points, a subtle sign of her growing independence. That evening, I arrived at Leah's home for our monthly dinner. Unlike my parents' dining room with its stiff formality, this space pulsed with authentic laughter and conversation. My chosen family, colleagues, friends, mentors, passed dishes family style around the table. To Sierra, Melissa said, raising her glass. Who taught us that standing your ground isn't selfish, it's necessary. Applause rippled around me. I thought of the scholarship I had established for PT students from tough backgrounds, the boundary-setting workshop I'd soon lead, and tomorrow's launch of our specialized vestibular rehab program. When dinner ended, I stepped onto Leah's back porch. The mountains rose against the horizon, steady and immovable, like the boundaries I had learned to protect. You look peaceful, Leah said, joining me. I am. I breathed deeply. I finally understand I can heal my patients without sacrificing myself in the process. Tomorrow, I would treat an elderly man with the same care I once gave to family members who had taken without gratitude. The difference was he would look me in the eye and say thank you, and I would know I had been seen. I'm Sierra Bennett, I whispered to the mountains, and I heal people who value the healing,